Hello, friends. I'm here to talk about the big shift that we are all experiencing. As you all know, Rahu and Ketu, the lunar nodes, are switching signs. They're going from the Aries-Libra axis to the Pisces-Virgo axis. They switch signs every year and a half, so about every approximately 18 and a half months. And we experience this as a big shift in our consciousness. Now we have to remember Rahu and Ketu, I'm going to call them grahas, not planets. The word for them is grahas in Sanskrit, in Jyotish. And grahas are basically energies that grab your consciousness, right? And they are really the nodes of the moon. That means they grab our mind. If you think about the moon as a metaphor for mind, represented by the mind. In Jyotish, moon is the mind represents the moon, or the moon represents the mind. Rahu and Ketu, the nodes of the moon, they're at polar opposites. They're polarized, right? They have a polar charge to them, and they grab our mind in opposite directions. So I'm going to share my screen so we can look at it together and know what we are seeing. So as you can see, this is still Monday, November 27th. Rahu is in Aries and Ketu is in Libra. So Rahu is in the last degrees of Aries and Ketu is in the last degrees of Libra. And they travel retrograde. So all planets travel west to east. So they travel in this direction, in this chart, in a clockwise direction. Whereas Rahu and Ketu, they travel retrograde or east to west in our sky from where we are standing on Earth and looking back at the sky. So they're traveling in a retrograde motion. They're traveling counterclockwise in this chart. And you can see this. So this is, if you notice, this is November 27th. If I move forward a day, November 28th, they went back into, from Aries back into Pisces, from Libra back into Virgo. So they travel retrograde. And when they travel retrograde, they really help in unwinding karmas. So all the planets, including Moon, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, Mars, Venus, they travel from west to east, and they are ripening karmas for us. They're entangling us, and entangling is a weak word, but they are really connecting us to the world of karma, which is Earth. Whereas Rahu and Ketu, when they are traveling backwards, they are traveling retrograde. They're unwinding the world of karma and showing us our blind spots. So blind spots is a really pretty big word with both Rahu and Ketu. And they really help unravel deep parts of our psyche that we also don't know exist there. So in the Aries-Libra axis for the last year and a half, this is, I think, from March of 2022, Rahu end of the node. So Rahu they both are distorting factors in our psyche because they're really unraveling blind spots for us, right? So Rahu is, you have to think about Rahu as the magnifying force. So if you have a magnifying glass and you point at something, it magnifies that, right? So that's Rahu. Whereas Ketu is that concentrating energy in us. It's like super focused and super concentrating. So if you take the same magnifying glass and you put it under the sun and you focus it on a paper, the magnifying glass will start to focus the sun's rays and the paper would start to burn, right? So that's the power. The focusing power is Ketu. The magnifying and amplifying power is Rahu. They're both amplifying, but in different ways, right? So when Rahu traveled through Aries and Ketu traveled through Libra, specific things started to come up for us. And as this period of transition is happening, these things are also getting amplified more and more. They are hitting us very acutely before we can actually really be able to see through the blind spots. And I don't see Rahu and Ketu by themselves. They always have to be seen together. One end of the node cannot exist without the other. So I always see them together. But the sign axis that they are in, so here on Monday, November 27th, they are still in the Aries-Libra axis. It ties that sign axis together, right? So it also shows the harmonizing energy of the opposites. So Aries and Libra are opposite each other, and the harmonizing energy between the two, one sign cannot exist without the other. So if you really want to understand the sign of Aries, you really have to understand the sign of Libra and understand what Aries is learning. To really understand Libra and what they are working with, you need to understand Libra's pain point, which is Aries, right? Similarly with Rahu and Ketu, if you really want to understand what Rahu is doing, you have to understand the Ketu end of the node. If you want to understand what Ketu is doing, you have to understand Rahu end of the node. So after beating that in, let's talk about Rahu in Aries. And, as these past 1 week, as it's moving through Aries and completing its cycle before it moves into Pisces, it's also going to cross the Gandhanta, right? The Gandhanta between Aries and Pisces, which is there is no nakshatra, there's no constellation. So the subscript here is the constellation. There's no constellation that is bridging Rahu back into Aries. So the region in space, these are energetically dense points in space, which can be measured, and NASA measures them, right? Is actually a very, very interesting point for any planet to cross. So Rahu is crossing the Gandhanta, which really means a knot at the end of a string, right? And if you want to go from one string to the other, like in crochet, you have to cross the knot. And it's a rough transition. So it's bringing up the lessons, the final lessons. It's really trying to solidify the final lessons of Aries, which is Aries is a really individualistic sign. So it's like, what about me? How have I been cheated out of opportunities? That's Rahu feeling cheated, because if you remember the story of the Samudra Manthan and what Rahu and Ketu stand for in that Manthan, Rahu remembers being cheated out of the opportunity to become immortal. So Rahu has that energy of how in my highest quest, somebody is going to betray me or cheat me. And here in the sign of Aries, the highest quest is that of being an individual, having your own individual expression, being your own force in the world, right? And so throughout the last year and a half, you probably were becoming aware of how you're going to be cheated out of opportunities to be your best expression. And if you had planets there in the sign of Aries, it would hit slightly harder for you, those lessons. And as Rahu is transitioning out of Aries, these lessons are becoming really strong, where you're very aware of your potential is 100, and what the world or people around you are willing to give you is only 0.1. So there's this feeling of my individual expression was not allowed, and raging towards that, wanting and taking actions towards that. The Ketu end of the node is actually finishing its cycle in Libra, and in Libra, so Ketu is a focusing energy, and so a level of criticism comes with it, wherein you're really focused into something and looking at the dark side of things. Ketu energy, if you personify Ketu energy, it is, you have to think about it as a dragon without the head, right? So it's neck down, the entire body. So Ketu does not have direction on its own, yet it is very focused, and it is focused on the parts of you that are your dark sides, right? And it's becoming really focused. Libra is a sign of society, the marketplace, where people interact with each other. We're looking at agreements being met between people, right? And Ketu is, through the last year and a half, has really brought into focus how agreements were not met. What was promised to you was not met. You had to really fight hard to get what was fair for you, what was equitable for you. And this might come up in at work, right? Especially if you had planets in Libra and Ketu hit all those planets and Ketu was active through the Dasha cycles. It might become you might have experienced places or events where you didn't get your fair promotion, or you were misunderstood in business, or your business partner being really critical about your business partner, or being really aware, critically aware of how you were not treated as equal. Whether you acted on it or not is a different thing, but being really critically aware of how things were not in balance, how relationships were unequal, where you gave too much, where you felt like you were not seen, where you felt like you're the ugly one or the unwanted one, right? That's the issue with Rahu and Ketu too. So Rahu end of the node is really showing you your potential, which is like so big in Aries, yet not being able to find a way to get to there because everything or everyone falls short of helping you get there. And Ketu end of the node is very aware of all the inequalities that came in the process of you being your highest self. So now, and this is Tuesday, November 28th, the nodes shifted signs. So Rahu has gone into Pisces and Ketu has gone into Virgo. And Chitra, the nakshatra here, you can see the subscript, is the one that is helping Ketu bridge between Libra and Virgo. So it has an easier time, whereas Rahu, there's nothing bridging it. So in Pisces, now Pisces is a sign wherein, so the Pisces-Virgo axis is a little bit different than Aries-Libra axis. Aries-Libra axis has to do with Aries wanting to be an individual and Libra wanting to harmonize everything between people and bringing those two together, right? How do I maintain my individuality yet be a part of a community and a marketplace and have agreements? Whereas Pisces-Virgo axis is a little different. Pisces is where we really want to let go of everything that attaches us to the world. So there is a really big seeking into something that's not of this world, whether it's God, whether, loosely speaking, religion, but spirituality, but something that is more than your mundane life. It could also be Netflix and chill, right? Something that takes you away from your mundane life. So it's really about being in that space of an unstructured environment. Your dream state is Pisces because it's not of this world. It's an unstructured place for your mind to be in where you can dream or meditate or daydream, be spacey, have ideas, be in a world of imagination. That's all Pisces. It's all unstructured. So it's being of that universal, cosmic, unstructured self. That's Pisces. And then Virgo is directly opposite Pisces, which is extremely structured. Everything needs to be structured. There needs to be a schedule for everything. There needs to be a routine. You need to take care of your health. You need to have everything in a timely manner. You need to have your finances in order. You need to have your health in order. You need to have your goals and tasks. Virgo is very task oriented. So it's extremely structured. And you're trying to harmonize these two. So when Rahu is in Pisces, and this is between now and 18 months later, early 2025, you will experience wanting to not be attached to anything. You would want, Rahu end of the node tries to have experiences that's beyond our real life on earth, right? So wanting to immerse in alcohol or smoke weed once in a while, or be on a spiritual journey. And it will, as it moves through Pisces, it will go through the nakshatra of, I've written it here, Revati, Uttar Bhadrapada and Purva Bhadrapada. So it's retrogressing back through Revati, Uttar Bhadrapada, Purva Bhadrapada till it traverses back into Aquarius. And in Revati, you're like, everything feels great. This is the meaning of life. I've arrived. I know the answer. And then in Uttar Bhadrapada, you discover something and you'll be like, oh my God, but there is something more. I thought I had found the answer to all my problems and solutions, and I'm going to live in peace in my utopia forever. But then there's something that shows up and you're like, huh, I haven't considered this. And then Purva Bhadrapada, you'll get one more strike and you'll be like, oh, I haven't considered that either. So, and this is a very mundane example. It's like when you're binge watching a show on one of the online platforms and you really love a show and you're like, this is it. This is like, I can watch the show over and over and over again. And then some other show comes up and you're like, oh my God, I'm so attached to this show. I love this show. Now, this is my next favorite to go. It's going through that cycle of trying to find meaning and purpose beyond your real mundane life. And then feeling like you found it, but then something else comes. So if you're, for example, and this is a very mundane example, so take it with a grain of salt, but like when you're smoking weed and you're just in this spacey, dreamy place, or you have a meditation practice which gives you this high, right, and makes you feel like you're in utopia, and then you have, whether you take another drug or you take LSD, it's a different shot, and you're like, oh my God, this trip is better. Or you start on a new meditation cycle or a new yoga practice, or you go from doing a hatha yoga to a hot yoga sometimes, and you'll be like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So it's having that kind of experiences, which is unstructured, yet it's just so spacey and dreamy, and you're snacking. You're snacking for purpose and meaning beyond your life, right? And that Revati, when Rahu is in Revati, it's like, I found all the answers. But when Rahu gets into Uttar Bhadrapada and Purva Bhadrapada, realizing that those are not the answers, and there is more, and there's more, and there's more, and keep on transforming that. That's the nature of dual signs too, like Pisces and Virgo both are dual signs, where they are willing to transform and change pretty quickly based on information available. On the other hand, Ketu is going through the nakshatras of, it's going to go reverse through Virgo. So it's going to go through the nakshatras of Chitra, like I said, Hasta and Uttara Falguni. So in Chitra nakshatra has, ruled by Vishwamitra. So and he was the architect of the universe. So everything needs to be structured. You'll start to put structures in life and routines in life, especially if you have planets in Virgo that Ketu is going to hit. And everything needs to be by a certain order. Then when it goes into Hasta, when Ketu transits into Hasta nakshatra or constellation, nakshatra is another word for constellation or star space. Hasta has to do with hands. And then realizing that all these structures that I want in my life, I really need to dig deep and use my own hands to create these structures. So I need to do the activity and the task myself. So I can't delegate it to someone else to do it for me. I can't delegate somebody else to organize my day. I need to organize it myself and create a structure myself. And once you have done that enough, then when Ketu transits into Uttara Falguni, and Uttar Falguni and Uttar Bhadrapada, they have opposite energies too. They're in different, Uttar Bhadrapada is in Pisces, Uttar Falguni is right here in Virgo. They're opposite each other. And in Uttar Falguni, you realize once you have done enough work yourself, now you can partner with somebody else to have that same structure in life, right? So these are very opposite energies, wherein in Pisces, as Rahu transits through Pisces, you're constantly searching for that purpose and meaning and snacking around. Something feels good really for a moment, and then it suddenly does not feel good. It does not satisfy anymore. Or, you had a disagreement with somebody over a philosophy that you were so attached to, and then you move to something else, right? It's that living in that philosophical, dreamy, spacey world. And the highest quality of that is devotion, bhakti, and meditation, being in unison with the universal force. And the opposite end of that Pisces energy is that Ketu, the Virgo energy, and Ketu highlighting that by bringing in structure. So you can only be spacey, dreamy, and live in a world of imagination if your life on earth is structured. If you have enough routines, you can build and schedule times to be imaginative, to work on creative endeavors, to explore God, to explore what spirituality means for you. If your life on earth is not structured and if you don't have checks and balances in place, then, your quest for answers beyond this world can actually destroy your own life, your own health here on this planet, right? So those are the two extremes that will get highlighted for the next year and a half. And it would kind of be a relief if from the Aries-Libra principle, which is very intense too. Aries is like, what about me? What about my individual expression? Are you supporting my existence on this planet? And Libra is like, yeah, you're important, but so is everybody else. And that constant like tug of war, right? Whether of equity between individual and society. That's pretty intense. And then the Pisces Virgo axis, where Rahu and Ketu are going to be there till early 2025, is what's the bigger meaning and purpose in life? Have I structured my life on earth? Okay, I have. What's the next meaning and purpose? How do I find that? Can I take a trip? Can I travel? Can I do something that's extraordinary? Can I have my life structured? That's the Virgo energy on this planet. And bringing criticism to that, being like Ketu will also bring that awareness and criticism in areas where you're not structured and you feel like a fool if you don't have your routines in place. So those are like the extreme energies you're dealing with, you will be dealing with in 2025. And based on your ascendant, your rising sign, Pisces will rule one area of life and Virgo will rule the other, right? So for a Taurus rising person, Pisces is their 11th house, whereas Virgo is their 5th house. So these things like will fall, the Pisces area of life that Rahu will activate or highlight will lie in the areas of 11th house kind of stuff for Taurus, which is higher ambitions. What are my higher ambitions? What is my purpose in life? How can I connect to that? And then Virgo being their 5th house, am I really being creative? If I have to be creative, which is the 5th house quality, or if I need my intelligence to shine, I need to get structure. And if you're not, then that Ketu end of the node will become really critical of that. So that's the kind of energy you're dealing with. How do you, the best remedy or the best suggestion, I don't like to use the word remedy, the best suggestion for this time period of Ketu being in Virgo and Rahu being in Pisces is, have some structured time for chill, relax, meditation, or even just doing nothing. Like have some time carved out in your schedule. So you need to have a schedule because that's what Ketu end of the node will make you do. But carve that out for just wandering, just to be imaginative, just to have ideas that are bigger than yourself. And if you really have a developed consciousness, then really to explore God through Pisces kind of themes, which is bhakti, which is devotion. How do you really make your emotional state so sweet? Because Pisces is a water sign. You make your emotional state so sweet that through that sweetness within you, you start to experience the divine. You start to experience the universal forces within you, right? Whether you pin it on a deity or not, whether you pin it on a god or not, but it's like through that sweetness, you're experiencing the bliss of life. And that sweetness needs to come through an inner work, not through external substances. That's a caution for Rahu moving through Pisces. Ketu moving through Virgo, I think it would really help to, Virgo itself is a sign that if you have planets there, will make you worried. It has a worried nature, but you're really worried for preserving your life on earth, right? So worried about health, worried about having routines, worried about making sure you eat good food, worried about maintaining innocence in life. So creating that space with Ketu, and Ketu will also like bring out blind spots where you're not doing it, and then feeling like you will self-flagellate, you'll start to hit or you'll start to blame yourself, self-flagellation, like blame yourself or guilt trip in those areas. So being aware of not playing blame games and really getting down and doing the work to live a healthy life on this planet, and physically healthy life on this planet, right? Maybe you garden. Gardening will be really good as Ketu moves through Virgo. Maybe you have a physical yoga practice, right? All those things you can do. And feel free to write to me if you need ideas about how this is going to affect your chart. The last thing I want to talk about is, and I think a lot of us are experiencing this, which is as Ketu is moving through the last degrees of Libra into Virgo, it's going to cross over Venus here. So you're seeing each square here is 30 degrees long. So Venus is going to go from 26 all the way to 30 degrees of Virgo, whereas Ketu is going from 1 degree to 0 degrees of Libra and then 30 degrees into Virgo, right? So as I'm progressing this, you're seeing Ketu move. This is Monday. This is Tuesday. And it's moved from Libra back into Virgo, and now it's joined Venus. And this is important because a lot of us are feeling this, which is Ketu joined Venus so closely. And as if I step forward, Venus will cross over Ketu and move back into Libra, where it's not debilitated anymore. In Virgo, Venus is considered debilitated, even though in the last few degrees of Virgo, I don't consider it debilitated. It's actually Virgotum, so it has a lot of strength. I'm not going to get into details of that. But as Ketu is moving into Virgo and Venus is leaving Virgo and moving into Libra, they're crossing over, they're joining and crossing over. And this is bringing out a lot for many people, which is Venus is our romantic relationships. Venus is our ability to connect to others. It's our ability to form relationships and compromise and come to a common ground, to be harmonious together, to really act as a community together. Venus is also that beauty in life, right? Being able to connect to beauty and things that make us feel beautiful or make us feel like life is worth living. There's so much beauty in life that it's worth living. Venus is also arts and artists, all of those things, Venetian things in life, right? So as this is happening, which is Ketu and Venus are going to cross over each other and join really closely for a few weeks. You're going to feel like you're going to become aware of all the inequalities in relationships. You're going to become aware of how you are not treated right? Become really critically aware of what's right and what's wrong. Like Ketu does not buy into regular stuff that makes relationships work, which is people pleasing, which is showing appreciation. Ketu can really see through that falsehood of connecting, right? So you're becoming really aware as this transition is happening and Ketu and Venus are moving over each other. You're becoming really aware of agendas in relationships, aware of just not ingenuity in relationship, right? Not people not being genuine, the superficial levels of relating. Also becoming aware of, Ketu is that past. It's Rahu is the future and Ketu relates to the past. So it's also bringing up past relationships, and they feel like haunting in our psyche and in our consciousness, where then you're becoming aware of things that went wrong. You're becoming aware of your lessons and what you could have done in those relationships, or how those relationships didn't show up for you. There's that blame game also that can happen. And it's really complex. It feels really, really heavy emotionally. If you think about emotions, Venus really rules happiness in emotions. Moon is the peace and the connection and the harmony, but Venus is the happiness. It's not being able to feel happiness through relations, through connections. It could show up at work. It could show up in your romantic life. It could show up in your friendships where nothing seems to bring you happiness. But again, if you have a sadhana or a spiritual practice or any kind of practice that connects you to the divine energies, there's a higher potential here because, like I said, Ketu is neck down. If you personify Ketu, it's neck down of the dragon or of a being. And neck down, everything in the body actually contains the heart. So if you really are aware and you can go deep in that discomfort, there's an opportunity to connect in your heart and really bring out devotion amidst all the disappointments, amidst all the nitty-gritty of relation, all the irritations of relational connections, right? There's an opportunity to really purify that and really be heart-centered and connect with your heart. A lot of relationship themes probably are very active and it might feel very critical. You may feel rejected. You may feel like you're victimized. All these are like Ketu themes that get activated when Ketu joins a gentle planet like Venus, like feeling victimized, feeling like you're guilt tripped into doing something you don't want to do. Manipulation, that's one big thing. So if you're not connected in your heart, all these things will start to appear. You may feel really haunted by past relationships or somebody you were crushing over, maybe crushing over their beauty or how handsome that guy was and how you could never have it. Also becoming really acutely aware of beauty standards because Venus is beauty, right? And how you may not feel beautiful enough, or you may feel like somebody else is flaunting their beauty, or whether it's a guy or a girl, and getting more attention for that and becoming really acutely aware and critical of all those. So in the next few weeks, just ease off. If you feel critical, if you feel rejected, if you feel like you're victimized, before you say something or you act upon it, just pause and go deeper in your heart and really figure out what your actual need is before you act on it. Again, my website is cosmicartandscience.com. This is going to be on YouTube, so please like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Instagram or on Facebook, please feel free to please share it. And yeah, if you have any questions, reach out to me, direct message me, or private message. Do not put comments in the public forum asking questions and expecting me to answer them. Or you can book a session. You can write to me at Malini, Malini, at cosmicartandscience.com, or go to my website and book a session. Have a wonderful Rahu-Ketu transit through Pisces and Virgo. There are lots of great potentials and lots of pitfalls to watch out for. And I'm sure you'll do great. Have an awesome week ahead. Bye.